main.ts. You can see main.ts. Main.ts is the main entry point for your application. So that means this is the location. This is the location. This is the location from where the application starts compiling. Application starts compiling and initializes the components. Initializes the components required for application. So compiling of application, processing the components and initializing them that are required for application all starts with this main.ts. This is the main.ts. Actually, this main.ts, it gets information from so app module. What is app module? I will show you. It gets information from app module. That means which library to include, which library to compile and process. That everything, our application starts compiling from main, and the information for that application comes from the information for our application comes from this app module. Where is that app module? I will tell you. And important is, whenever we are working with the compilers, right? In order to handle the compilation. So there are so many additional compilation techniques we can use actually, right? Generally, what is happening is, later I will tell you about that. That means generally when we are using our applications, we can general default compiler, we call it as it uses JIT compiler. So it is a just-in-time compiler. JIT compiler is just-in-time compiler. It uses JIT compiler, just-in-time compiler. Additionally, what you can do is you can also configure AOT compiler. So it is AOT compiler is AOT actually stands for ahead of time compiler. It is ahead of time compiler. One of the special features about it is faster in rendering. Our application is faster in rendering. It uses few asynchronous requests, and it will download very small Angular framework size, and it will detect the template related errors before it compiles. Actually compiles by JIT compiler, right? It provides a better security options also. All these facilities are provided by AOT compiler. Means as a Angular developer, you have to choose between just-in-time compiler or AOT compiler. So actually just-in-time compiler means it compiles your application in the browser at runtime. It compiles your application in the browser at runtime. And AOT compiler means it compiles your application library at build time while building the application. So it will have better options, because at runtime so many issues may come. So this is a very common question in interviews. Very common question in interviews. So for experienced people also in interviews, they ask, what is AOT compiler? What is JIT compiler? Inbuilt by default, you have a JIT compiler. You can enable AOT compiler. How I will tell you how to do that. What is the speciality of AOT compiler and JIT compiler difference? So you should know the difference. Note is JIT is runtime. So means it will compile in browser at runtime and AOT is compile at build time. Build time means when you are building your project, after developing, when you are building the project at build time. So these two are important to understand, and this is all configured by this main.ts actually, main.ts, right? So generally, how to compile with AOT and how to compile, generally it uses JIT compiler. How to compile with AOT, I will tell you later. Next, we have another option, that is polyfills. Polyfills.ts. Actually, it comprises of scripts for browser support. That means what are the scripts required for browser support are defined in polyfills. That means your browser needs some special plugins to run animations, to run jQuery, UI and all. All such options related plugins, related information and configuration is present in polyfills. So it comprises of the additional scripts for a browser support. Whatever your browser needs for additional, like I need a PDF reader plugin, I need a Flash plugin, all such additional scripts are present in polyfills. So you can configure additional also in polyfills. Another important, you have styles.css. So it comprises of global CSS for your application. That means you can add directly CSS or link any style sheet here. You can add directly CSS or you can link any style sheet. And if you link any style sheet or write any CSS here, it will affect entire application. That means for your entire application, whatever CSS is required, it is present here. And next one, test.ts. Test.ts is nothing but it is the main entry point for unit testing. That means identifying the test requirements, preparing the test bed for testing our application. This is entirely managed by test.ts. So initially we will not work with all of them, but we need to know why they are there, right? These are all the options we need to understand. So we have all these files. So we have app, we have assets, we have environments, favicon, index.html, main.ts, polyfills.ts, styles.css, and test.ts. So what are those and what is the purpose of them? Important. And one major point you should know, while compiling, you can use JIT compiler or AOT compiler. AOT is ahead of time. What are the abilities of AOT and how to use? We will see that. So what is AOT and how to work with that? We will see. So what are the advantages of that? While learning about the configurations and all, we will detailedly discuss about the difference between those compilers and which one to use, right?